Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sports Jedi Network. In the world of wrestling, we have to ask a dangerous question. Are we on the brink of a modern wrestling war? With AEW making an aggressive move and TNA stepping up into AMC with Thursday Night Impact, the timing feels deliberate. The optics are loud and the shots are already fired. Before we break this down and we get into this video with you with this live stream, we want to show love on today's sponsor. Our sponsored by Dude Wipes, Stay Fresh, Stay Clean, and Match Ready, and our affiliate, Blackout Coffee. Wake up, stand up, and never back down. 100% American company that stands for God, family, and freedom. No corporate nonsense, just real coffee and real people. Now let's get right into it. PGA Chris, are we witnessing competition or the opening bell of a wrestle war? Salute.
Well, first off, salute to you, salute to everybody else. That's a good question because it definitely, we weren't seeing much of talent being in and out of, TNA and AEW and all this stuff. I know contracts, expire and I know, all this stuff, but you would think WWE would have a shot at getting the Rascalz, but no. Other companies are trying to get in, and I just bring them up for an example, and we'll break that down later. But that's kind of I don't know. This definitely could be. I don't think it's a coincidence. And I think this isn't going to be the first one. We're going to talk about some re-signs. We're going to talk about some departures, but I don't think this is the end. I think this is honestly the beginning. Who knows what could happen between now? We're live at 2:30. Who knows what could happen between now and 9? So we're excited. Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's go right into it. We tonight where we got the AMC premiere here on our channel on Sports Jedi Network. Whether it's going to be on the YouTube, we're gonna see simulcast with X as well on the Rumble app, where you're gonna be able to watch along with us on X as well as Kick, Truvo, everywhere. We're gonna be there. We're gonna make it a big spectacle. We told you time and time again, we have been invested in TNA for years now. Not Johnny by lately, come by night, whatever they want to call it. We've been here. We've been putting the work. We've been, like others that have been covering TNA as well. It's a proud moment as a TNA fan, enthusiast to see that there. We've got some signings coming in and out. I think, especially doing a watch along yesterday for All Elite Wrestling, Maximum Carnage, pretty decent show. I'm not gonna, we watched it. I'm not gonna say it was a terrible show. It's for the sickos. It was entertaining. I thought the aesthetic wise in that Phoenix theater looked kind of weird, the barricade, but you got used to it. But the guys put on a good show. I question it still for Orange Cassidy, the way he works. Not Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, the way he works. Jesus Christ! I'm like, my goodness. It makes me, cringe on the way he just puts his body on the line for the company, and so forth. But they had some good stories telling there. Here's the one thing that disconnected for me, Chris. You have a great main event of a guy that you built in all 2025 in the name of Bandito. He wins the Diamond Ring. You're getting excited. I know everyone knew that he had no shot of beating Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, because he just got the title. You're not going to hot potato it. But you wanted to put some big feel main event. And then you announced the Rascalz on a graphic that they're showing up. It took me out of giving a shit about MJF versus Bandito, and now scrolling through social media and find out more details if it was a fable tale or fake. Because you heard reports rumbling. I know one of our guys that he was a pundit on the channel, watches us, supports us, and Samurai. He told me, and early in the show, right before 8:00, reports that the Rascalz are going to sign with AEW. I go, no, they're not. They're still on the roster page. I actually shoot him down. I owe him an apology because he bought the right, and he bought me the scoop. Hours before it was announced. I was like, no, the podcast. I'm like, no, I don't believe it, Samurai. And then when they did the multi-man tag team match, that party match with the Bucks and Doyle and company, I thought maybe that would be a great time for the Rascalz to show up. If they show up, and get the pop and come out, and just there's 4 of them in the Rascalz. They could have been easily made sense and go in there and make a statement on all those people there, but they did it. So I'm like, nah, they're not showing up. And then they do the graphics. I couldn't care less about the main event after that. I couldn't, and it sucks because they put on a good main event, but I was totally out of it, Chris. Is it fair for me to say that, or am I just trying to be negative on All Elite Wrestling?
I mean, it could be fair. I mean, I think both things could be a little true, but I think it could be fair because we're TNA guys, so obviously this is huge, right? They're TNA tonight's going, talking about last night, day before their big AMC debut. They're going, or they're 1-2-4. Now they just didn't lose 1-2, they lost 4 of their biggest talent. Not saying that they were like the main priorities in the show, but people like us who met Zach Wentz in person, who are big fans of the Rascalz on TV, it's going to sting for us a little bit. It is. But I do we talked a little bit about this off air. One of the only positives I can see is it did give, something for AEW and the fans to look forward to next week. Like, what are they going to do? Who's they going to, whatever. I see that part, but I just want to go back to a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago, because when I saw that this happened, I really wasn't surprised. I was surprised in the moment that they it's something like Tomlin. I know he's gonna get fired, but when it actually happens, it's like, whoa, like you're shocked that it actually happened. As soon as we didn't the last show of Impact on Access, as soon as there was no mention of the Myron Reed and Leon match, which is the match that was one of the first matches announced for the AMC show, I knew that they weren't going to be there. I knew that something was up. They probably weren't going to re-sign, because all the reports with Killer Kelly leaving the company, I know you want to get into that a little bit later, so I'll save that for that. But when Killer Kelly, when there's reports of her not signing back with the company, you already speculate that, oh shit, they're not advertising that match anymore. Did it get pulled? Is there a contract dispute on both sides? And it's not a thing where you're married and, I'm going to, that obviously is a big thing, but it's not always that. It's when you look at Nic Nemeth re-signing today, when you look at all these contracts that are still in the mix, right now is when all these people's contracts are over. So with them going to AMC, this and that, this is still going to be a topic. This is still going to be the thing. My thing is, with AMC being the pitcher, I'm just shocked that the Rascalz, made that choice. Myron Reed, all of them made that choice. I wasn't surprised because of the match being pulled, but I also did figure it'd be like a Myron Reed type of thing, because think about this. And I did say this a couple months ago, right when they were doing that storyline with Myron Reed and Eric Young. When Dezmond Xavier, formerly known as Wes Lee, comes back to TNA and he reunites with the Rascalz, what's the perfect thing to do with Myron Reed feeling like that outsider being replaced again? Okay, you could have easily done that, and I thought they were going to. Myron Reed and Killer Kelly were going to leave the company, and Dezmond, Trey Miguel, and Zach Wentz were still going to be in TNA. That's what I thought would happen. I didn't think all fucking 4 of them would leave at the same time. That's kind of where I'm surprised. The real surprise comes in, because all 4 of them, what made all 4 of them want to leave TNA, not just on their biggest debut, but to go to AEW? I mean, especially for Dezmond, who literally just left NXT to go to TNA a couple months ago. I'm just surprised by all 4 of them. Now, with the match, I can see what you mean by that, going back to it, right? We're big Rascal guys. It's a big loss for TNA. We're just shocked in the moment. But, it's going to get people talking, and I'm curious to see what they do with them. I said the same thing about Ace Austin, and, he's fighting nobodies in Ring of Honor right now. So I don't, I'm not, what are they going to do? Win the trios tag team titles? I'm not excited for that. I don't know. So that's where I'm at. I'm just shocked that all 4 of them left and not just Myron.
No, I'm gonna go on piggyback on that and let's have that conversation and debate. Those are 6 roster spots that TNA lost. Jake Doyle, Killer Kelly, and all 4 members of the Rascalz. 4 members, 4, that's 6 roster spots, which 4 are now on Elite Wrestling. Now, like you said, they have, and there was a good tweet going around. It's not that you're trying to hate and dislike All Elite Wrestling. No, what are they really going to do? Like you said, trios title, and what Myron Reed is going to have a match with Ricochet for the national title. I mean, really, where we when Reed actually main evented with Leon Slater on Emergence on a PLE, for the company. It's like, but God bless them. I hope they got more money at the end of the day, because who are we to tell those gentlemen to not take a dollar less to stay in TNA if they're offering a dollar more in AEW, regardless if they're going to get the TV time and or not, or the push or whatever. But if they're making a dollar more, and going to make more money in All Elite Wrestling, God bless them. Do it, because we're at the end of the day, I am not going to pay their mortgages. I will by supporting them, buying t-shirt stuff to contribute to it, but I'm not going to pay their full salaries. I'm going to contribute to be part by my fandom. But those companies want to pay them. Who am I to tell them not to go to those places? Good job. I'm happy for, like we said, we managed to get to meet Zachary Wentz at that softball game. Got to see how much of a cool dude is. I got to see Wes Lee back then in NXT. His wife used to sit in the front. Very nice lady, family man, good stuff. Trey Miguel looks like a really smart, genuine young man. I never got the chance to have a conversation and meet him. You also see Myron Reed and Killer Kelly has a young daughter. They need to start making money. It gets tiring going and leaving your child and go work in the independent scene, taking your child in the independent scene in these places to make a few dollars to survive. So if they got themselves a long-term guarantee, a multi-year contract guaranteed is going to pay them good money. I can't get mad at the business side of it. What I want to bring, the cynical part, the timing. Like right before your AMC, you're scooping and you're making that like the FU moment. And we've seen it now because we saw the promo with Mike Santana and Frankie Kazarian. Wasn't unhappy in other places. Took the pretty paraphrase where Mike said that they come from another place where they weren't so happy and they pretty much banked on themselves and they lost the love. I paraphrase to that degree, and it felt like a little bit of retaliation. To me, it spiced things up in the wrestling world. It just spiced it up because the IWC is toxic with one another, with fan base. Here's the one difference, and it's not about waving flags and stuff, or maybe it is, or maybe it is the way you want to interpret it. You don't see a TNA wrestling fans that calling them traitors to the talent that's going to AEW. We're actually happy they're going to make more money. As a TNA fan, to see these guys go, we're sad. We're going to miss them because I think the world would have seen the dynamic of a Trey Miguel, a Myron Reed, a Wes, aka Xavier, and Zachary Wentz on AMC platform to be seen and being featured. But that's the thing that saddens me, because I wanted the world to see them more. But hopefully they get that same exposure in All Elite Wrestling, Chris.
Yeah, and obviously the finance part is always the the main reason on why these people leave. Especially with TNA. The money's really not there, and talent have said that before. I mean, AJ Francis has said that on Ariel Hawaii, where it's like he hasn't been quiet about it. He literally has said, if TNA wants me, they have to pay me. So were they willing to, my question is, were they willing to pay? Were they not? We'll never know unless, one of them really speaks on it on their own. But it does suck for TNA. I did, post something about Zach Wentz. I'm obviously happy he's on a bigger, not bigger, but, TNT or TBS, AMC, I would say bigger platform. I'm worried about his momentum. I'm worried about their momentum because I don't really think a lot of the AEW fans would gravitate towards some of the things not things they do in the ring, because that's that screams AEW, but like the little stoner segments, I've already seen AEW fans say that we don't want to see those on TV, like whatever. Which to a degree, I understand they can be corny at sometimes, but they're funny. But I'm already seeing so I don't know. I just hope they're whatever they do, if they are booked individually, I hope they're booked well. Again, I'm gonna say this with a lot of talent that does go into AEW, and it's not because I'm hating. It's not because I don't like AEW, because I do. I don't have a problem with them. I've repeatedly have seen the same cycle where a high talent comes in, especially from a company that's really not WWE, and they become who the fuck are you? They're better off doing what they're doing in their other companies, like Deonna Purrazzo, like Ace Austin. I'm sure I can go on and on. So that's more what I'm worried about for the Rascalz.
Yeah, I'm gonna, because here's the one thing that sucks. If you're Jake Doyle, I thought he had an impressive run with Mark Davis. They're the number one contenders in that tag team gauntlet that they had, or domination, whatever the hell they had there with the Bucks, the Super Kick Party showdown that they had. And I was like, oh man, I kind of feel good for Jake getting an opportunity, Jake Doyle getting an opportunity, but they're not beating FTR, so you're setting up poor Doyle for nothing. Because he's going to lose to FTR. They're not taking those titles off FTR, him and Mark Davis. So then, okay, we gave them the flavor of the month treatment for Doyle. And then he's just going to be a furniture piece on the Don Callis family. And now and that's that. Now you brought in 4 more talents in the Rascalz that you have to find television times along Collision and Dynamite. And I don't know where is it going to be. You're going to put them in multi-man matches all the time with them. Sooner or later they're going to get frustrated. For Reed, they're going to give him the Dark State treatment. One who's the Cutler James in the group that's just going to stand there to be pom pom cheerleading. I don't know. That's the worrisome for them. But again, they got paid well. Good. Now they have to. They get the money, make the money, pay your bills, make that money multiply. Because you're not going to, I think that's going to frustrate them. Here's the caveat when it comes to the Rascalz. All the members and Doyle and All Elite Wrestling's allow them to take those independent bookings still and work those independent shows. So they could get their reps in. They could have their cake and eat it too. Listen, again, Reed has a young daughter, probably going to start heading preschool, and maybe his wife wants to set up, be more at home for the education of their child, and maybe that's why she does, maybe she might not see, you might even not see her take much bookings or sign somewhere else, but she's also a free agent. So we'll find out where that goes for those talents. I want to, talk about some of the talents that's leaving AEW, because when you bring in those type of talents, it seems like you might lose talents as well. You can't keep that bloated roster. Reports has it that Powerhouse Hobbs finishes his contract as a free agent, WWE bound. Now, isn't he part of the Trios champion still?
I don't want to spoil.
Something might have happened on Collision.
Something did happen on Collision.
So you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna say it like that. Sorry for my language.
You want me to say it?
Yeah, because everybody spoils everything that happens in WWE, TNA. Screw it. Nobody watches Collision anyway.
So Hangman, Jet Speed, and Kevin Knight are the new AEW Trios Tag Team Champions, and they did like a thing with Powerhouse Hobbs with Joe to send them off after the match.
Okay. All right. So Hobbs is gone. So that's a spoiler. People do it all the time. So I never like to do it.
I never like to do it either, but
screw it. Yeah. Because we know Friday, if we're at work at 2 o'clock, from London, that's going to be spoiled all over X. And everyone's going to wait until 8 o'clock on the USA Network to give you the WWE spoilers. So screw it. That's why we made that decision. So Hobbs is heading to the WWE. That's one talent gone. I asked this question. Tony, you've got a bloated roster. Great. Utilize. Can you please allow the dentist, Dr. Big Breaker, out of her contract so she could wrestle? Don't waste her talent, and you're holding her back hostage, not doing anything. If you're not going to put her on your television and you're not going to utilize her where fans know that she's a talented female in your company, why are you holding her back then? Let her go. Let her wrestle. If she goes to the feds, you've getting talents in that are healthy, that wants to work. If you don't see the value in her, this is the thing that frustrates me. If she's not going to wrestle, let her go. Also, other wrestlers. You got you just signed Persephone for a working relationship or a dual contract, what they call. So you've got a young, talented wrestling luchador from Mexico. Let Dr. Britt Baker go work in TNA then, or whatever she decides she wants to go. I mean, start shaving some of your roster that you're not utilizing, that's not being used. Private Party, wonder where the hell they are. That's a young tag team that, you know what, if they go to TNA, if they're free agents, that's another tag team they could use. Another dynamic tag team that fresh faces, new scenery, it might work, Chris.
Oh, it will work. It can work, but no, with Powerhouse, because he's the one that's out. I think he'll be booked a lot better in WWE because we see a lot of the times in AEW. And look, you guys can say that we're TNA Glazers, whatever, and that we know AEW is not everyone's cup of tea. I've been watching AEW since 2019. I think I can tell you guys a little bit about some of the history, right? Please, and anybody, feel free to tell me, when was the last big man that was dominant and that felt like a legit big man in AEW? I can't remember. They had that opportunity with Powerhouse Hobbs, and they didn't do it. I mean, Samoa Joe, but he's already Joe. It's not like we're just seeing that for the first time and no, he's fucking Samoa Joe. So I don't, and look, they even paired the two together and still couldn't really do anything. So I think he'll be utilized a lot better in WWE. I think he'll booked to be a lot stronger. I don't think it's a big loss for AEW. People are gonna say Tony fumbled this and that, which he might have. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, people are trying to make it seem, because what is he doing there? Is he just playing trios tag team champions with Samoa Joe and Shibata? That's what you guys want him to do. You guys, you sickos, would rather see Powerhouse Hobbs, who you guys know is talented as fuck, waste his talent for years and years and years. And doing this, I sure as hell don't. So why wouldn't he go to WWE? Why wouldn't he go to NXT with all the NXT call-ups being up? Motherfucker, they just lost Obafemi. Keanu Carter is an established talent. He isn't a name that people are going to go, oh. Now, he's made a good first impression to a lot of people. But Powerhouse, and like Kev always says, and excuse my language, I'm sick and tired of the bullshit narrative. No one's going to know who he is. That's bullshit. He shows up on NXT next week. He's going to get a Ricky Saints reaction. And so tell me, did anybody know nobody in the NXT crowd knew who Ricky Saints was when he showed up? Me and Chef had no idea who Ricky Saints was by our reactions then. I mean, that's bullshit. That's utter bullshit. He's going to be fine in WWE. AEW is going to be fine without him. And it's good talent for NXT now that they lost Oba, Trick, and Javon. It's that simple to me.
I like what you say that, Chris, because I could imagine Ricky Saints, if you look at that closing of NXT, Ricky Saints was, when he saw Keanu Carter come out, he kind of had a concerned look in his eyes. Like, oh, damn, who is this guy? Now you lost with Femi.
Made a great first impression.
Yes, and you bring and look, Keanu Carter looks like a monster, a force to be reckoned with, but he's still a little green. Obviously, he's not involved for a reason. He wasn't immediately to the NXT brand. He's been there for almost a year in Evolve, a year because Evolve has been on the air for a full year now. And obviously he's been, they haven't really moved him up that quickly. So they know that there's still some work. He's a diamond in the rough for the WWE. You bring in someone that's going to scare Ricky Saints, and he needs a bodyguard, a personal protector, a kind of like a little bit, Shawn Michaels loved playing the hits of his creative from the past. You look in the past, you bring in that kind of Big Daddy Cool Diesel type of bodyguard in Will Hobbs with Ricky Saints to help him out. That collision course between Keanu Carter and Will Hobbs would be something for NXT fans to sink their teeth in. That's a stand and deliver match. My goodness, Mike, all that good stuff there. Hobbs can help Ricky win the ladder match. What a debut. He's a guy the force that helps him, wipes out the competition, and he goes and gets that NXT World Title, and then you have the reign of Hobbs and Ricky Saints, and then eventually, when Hobbs is ready to go that babyface run, he'll turn on Ricky Saints or whatever, vice versa, and you're off and running, you're making money for NXT. So that looks cool. That's a great opportunity for Hobbs, for NXT, for him to get into a new audience that knows who he is, but now is going to get to see them live in person at a performance center. So good to see that for them. Now, for TNA, what those voids now? And I see a lot of people, and I'm not going to throw shade, they want Matt Taven. You think Matt Taven is going to pick up the void of the Rascalz, bro? Oh, let's get Matt Taven in. He's really going to move the needle? Chris?
No.
Go get Karrion Kross. Go get Killer Kross for the main event team to get in there. And just go in there with, even if he doesn't team with the Righteous, but he's there to storytell with Scarlett. If she wants to have the wrestling itch, you have another knockout in the division that could take the Kelly slot there as one of those knockouts to wrestle as well. Killer Kelly is gone. Karrion Kross makes sense for TNA. Bring in TNA, comes with more. Now, I don't know if he's going to be too much of a price range for TNA. Your thoughts? You think TNA is not paying these talents?
I don't know if they're not paying these talents, because we just saw Nic Nemeth resign, which we will talk about after all this. But I don't know if they're not paying them. I don't know if. This might sound crazy, and I'm probably wrong, but maybe they don't believe they could grow with TNA for themselves. Maybe they think this is a way to get them more out there. I don't know.
That makes a good point. Because
be my only thing.
Yeah. That makes a good point, because sometimes when you and I'm gonna put it to the real world. Sometimes when you work in a company for many years and promotions come, they don't think of you because they only remember, how you grew and your limitations as an employee, but they don't trust for you to grow to another level of expectation, because they think that you're that same person that came in, and sometimes you have to leave the company to take another position, a lateral position elsewhere. So maybe that's what these talents that are leaving the company, like a Reed. Myron Reed saw that he could main event a PLE for TNA Wrestling, put on a banger with Leon Slater. He's an up-and-coming blue chipper, or one of those guys that are high in demand. Xavier, Wes Lee, the pedigree that he has with TNA, with NXT as well, the North American run, and I believe he's been in the ring with Ricochet, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had a couple matches in NXT, if my mind don't blanked out. The Rascalz with Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz taking on the Young Bucks to put on those kind of spot fed type of matches and so forth. There's a lot of good, exciting things. Don't get me wrong, but maybe that's what they see, Chris. Maybe that's what they want, another challenge. They feel like they're too comfortable and they want to be challenged as a performer.
I could also see why that would be, a thing, but it's like, my thing is this. If it has to be money, because I think if really money was the thing, right? I think if AEW is smart enough, they offer Nic Nemeth the contract of a century. So I a little part of me thinks it has to do with money.
It's got to be money.
It has to be, because what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know why you would you go through this thing with TNA where you guys have been there for a while, and the company's still not there, and they finally get there. You're there 2025, which is arguably one of their biggest years, if not their biggest year ever, and you're out. You're right when things are about to start heating up, you leave. Either something happened or you took the money, which is fine, but I don't see why you wouldn't have stayed. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't see why you wouldn't have stayed with TNA. But again, get your paper.
Yeah, it's about the money. I believe so because all you hear about this locker room is the family. This locker room roots for one another. This is one of the best locker rooms that we've heard of. All that is great, Chris, but at the end of the day, that doesn't pay your mortgage
Unfortunately.
or your bills. So I understand that. Also, I have to ask this though. I have to ask this question. Family oriented locker room. We saw if you watch Fade to Black with TNA when they before they go on the air, what they do, they bow their heads and they have a rally speech, whether it's prayer or all that stuff. Could the marijuana type of things with the Rascalz be a little bit of a collision? Not seeing eye to eye, not liking the stuff because they don't say it marijuana, but they impose that they're getting smoke it if you got them and getting baked. Could that be something why they what they want to go? We want to change a little bit of our image. I mean, it's legal everywhere now. It could be antiquated, but
still, I mean, I could see why like AMC maybe might not want that. I still think that's kind of their thing though. I don't think like I will think we will see that in AEW. I don't think that's gonna go away. I don't know. It could be something where TNA too, like, yo, we're going on AMC. They might not like this isn't access, or TNA plus. Like, I don't know. I obviously don't have an issue. I think it's, it can be corny at times, but that's my only complaint. But the concept, I don't have an issue with it. So I don't think, even if you don't smoke, I mean, you can get a laugh out of it. It's not like they're on air puffing, puff passing. Like they're high and they're laughing. So I don't, it's not bad. It's just, it can be corny. That's it. So I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know. Maybe they frown upon it. Maybe the hires to be, I'm not saying Carlos Silva, hires to be like, hey, we got better. We have a different set of eyeballs that we're trying to establish. And this is something that's a little tasteless to us. And I don't know. Maybe that they don't. Maybe that's the fact. I'm not saying I'm not saying that. I have to just ask the question, guys. I'm not trying to say that's the reason why. No. We're just asking the question. Could it be that? Could it be that? That type of viewership or that type of issue that they've seen. Because one thing that I'm trying to find, man. I had the quotes from Mike Santana. Pretty much says he doesn't want to hear people giving excuses that they can't make this date because they have to work an independent show and they're not available. They're in AMC. No excuses. You got to be locked in on TNA when they need you. Not say I can't do those dates. Your thoughts on that from Mike Santana taking kind of a leadership role and look, they do look. We always said that as something that frustrates us. That we could kind of why are you working these independent shows? Like for me, for instance, I'm gonna tell that as a personal experience. When I went to the TNA Orlando tapings, that I happened to be there. Certain talents, I weren't there the night that I went because they were going to the House of Glory to record, a show, and they couldn't do TNA. They kind of prioritized their independent House of Glory tapings over TNA's tapings. And kind of pretty much Mike Santana says that's got to stop. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but if you read his tweet, his statement, you got to be more TNA centric. So let me ask this, Chris. Leadership role for Mike Santana. Do you disagree, agree? And give me your thoughts on that. If you want to I'll try looking for the exact quotes.
I like it. I think it's, coming from him, I like it because it's not one of those things where it's like, well, coming from him's rich. No, because he stepped back from House of Glory. He, did all those things. But again, to elaborate, has to apply for him too, Papa. And ACW, Battle Club. I mean, you got to that has to imply for you because Mike also does a lot of independent dates. But coming from him saying that, I think it's going to be an eye opener because people could see, oh, well, if Mike Santana, he's the guy going on indie runs, doing a lot of stuff. If he's committed to AMC and TNA, we got to follow. We want to rally behind, and we asked Santana if he was going to make it to a memorial show or whatever, and it's the same day as Genesis.
His best friend,
Yeah.
Jaka.
So
here in Kissimmee, Florida, I want to put that over. Tickets are still available, so even if you can't, his widow is putting on a show to honor her late husband, and of course, that's Mike Santana's best friend that passed away. And if you're in the Orlando area, and you're in the house, son of the beach, where the I believe Coastal Championship Wrestling runs their show there. Buy a ticket, man. Show out. Even if you can't, just help out. That's something big. I know that would be big for Santana as well as the widow on that. Just wanted to put that note out there.
No, you're good. You're good. But going about that, it's like, okay, we know that he's committed. He whatever. So I think people are going to rally behind. I think people are going to be like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I agree because like you said, right? Like, think about the people that like, oh, am I going to see Nic Nemeth? Am I going to see Nic? Oh, wait, why is he wrestling for another show? Like, he's supposed to be here, like whatever. And look, like now that we know I'm busted open, and I do want to talk about Nic Nemeth at some point.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Lead into it. Finish your thought and lead into it. I'll step back.
It comes down to like, these guys, he says he was on a handshake deal. More so. That's what he said on Busted Open. He said it was more of a handshake deal. Now he re-signed. So I think, with these new contracts, I think maybe that's in the new contracts. My point is, I agree. I think they should step back a little bit on the independent dates, especially now that, they're on a big network. They're going to be going live more. And they need the people. They need their people, especially with all these people leaving. But like I said, I do want to jump in a little bit to Nic Nemeth re-signing with TNA because I did listen to Busted Open. I did listen to the full 3 hours that he was on. I love Natty. I turned it off when she came on. I didn't want to hear what she really talked about, but there were Nic Nemeth is obviously somebody that you would have to be a complete moron not to want on your roster. I could be starting my wrestling company now, and if Nic Nemeth isn't affiliated, I'd be stupid not to reach out. I mean, anybody in the world would be stupid not to have that man in his company. So for TNA to actually get him to resign, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a huge, thing for TNA because they need all this fucking star power they can get going into tonight and for the rest of the AMC, couple of months, especially while it's still fresh and new. And it's interesting because I wonder if people are going to rally behind the fact that if now that Nic Nemeth re-signed, and he's somebody that could be anywhere. I mean, look, he could be in the main event scene in WWE if he really wants to. Like, and he chose to still wave that TNA flag for at least a year or two, however long. That should say something. That should want guys like the Rascalz to join, not just join, but stay and help turn something into something. I mean, turns this into something greater. And I'm just, I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised he stayed, but I'm not because I'm surprised he stayed because he's done a little bit more than maybe he thought he would. Like he does do a lot of meet and greets. He does do a lot of extra things for TNA if he was on this quote unquote handshake deal. So now that he's there, like it's just a huge win for TNA. My only concern is from a biasness perspective, again, tonight, I think he's walking out as TNA champion. So he's going to walk out as TNA champion tonight. That just that he said it tonight. Him teasing it on Busted Open, him re-signing. He is calling his shot after Mike Santana wins, and we're gonna get fucked again. I'm calling it, but that's for tonight. But going back to Nic Nemeth re-signing, it really is a good thing for TNA. They need all the stars they could get, and even if he is champion, that is going to create a lot of things, for that AMC deal. And Dave LaGreca said it, Kev, and it made me want to punch my phone, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong when he said this. And I don't know if you heard it. He said, if you're going into this AMC era, from a star perspective, from a holy shit, I know who this guy is, let me tune in perspective, and I'm paraphrasing, he said something along the lines of, who would you rather have, Nic Nemeth, Mike Santana, or Frankie Kazarian?
Right.
And let's be honest, the answer is Nic Nemeth. So that's my only thing. But I fucking love that he's staying, dude.
I'm going to get, you want to know my answer? But I'll give you my answer after we hear from our new affiliate.
Sports Jedi Nation, you already know I don't start my day without two things. Standing firm in what I believe in a cup of coffee that actually represents those values. That's why I rock with Black Alcohol. It's a 100% American company, unapologetic, patriotic, pro-Second Amendment, an anti-woke, nonsense, no corporate hustle, no virtual signing, just real coffee for people who still believe in God, family, and freedoms. Every bag is a roast right here in my beautiful state of Florida, and it's shipped straight to your fresh bowl, no compromises. If you need to hit the ground running, the Morning Reaper, I suggest, a medium roast that goes smooth, powerful, and clicks like a mirror. Support a company that actually gives a damn about this thing. Go to Blackout Coffee Rumble. Use my promo code Rumble for 20% off or Sports Jedi 20 of your first order. Blackout Coffee. Wake up, stand up, never back down. Fuel your freedom. Real coffee with real value. A bold, backed by freedom. Wake up and think free. And may the sports be with you.
That's our new affiliate, Blackout Coffee. Remember, you could save. Use my promo code Sports Jedi 20. Get 20% off on any of your orders. So hit the coffee from Florida, from my beautiful state of Florida. The coffee is done here, so let's go. That's our new affiliate. So thank you so much there to Blackout Coffee. Don't forget, also we're sponsored by Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes, wiping out the competition, keeping you clean in and out of the ring in everyday life. So gonna break right into it, Chris. My thoughts. Nic Nemeth, I understand where you're coming from. I like what they were, the narrative of, and we didn't see it at the moment. When you're going into your first ever AMC major television, you want, and for us, it didn't make sense at the moment. It makes sense now that Frankie Kazarian going into tonight is your world champion. He is a Mount Rushmore of TNA to have him hold the title. If you're a guy, a person, a male, female that used to watch TNA and you don't have access and you're going to tune in for years, oh man, Kazarian's still around, he's the champ, and you watch and then he drops it. I still think Mike Santana is walking away with that title. I know you make a great point with Nic Nemeth and Nemeth with that call your shot gauntlet. I have a funny feeling that something along the lines with AJ Styles has something to do with this outcome. We mentioned it time and time again. I mentioned it yesterday. I wanted to review this with you. I went on a live yesterday and I said, I want to hold off a little stuff because I really want to talk with my partner about this because we both have been so invested with TNA. And it was about what would have made sense for the special guest commentator on the main event. Now, I kind of said something different yesterday. I'm going to say today. It should have been AJ Styles because if AJ Styles is on commentary and Frankie goes out cocky and smacks the headset off of AJ and gets physical, where AJ distracts Frankie and then he comes in the ring and gets hit with a spin the block, the match is over and then Frankie go after AJ and start the beef and we can have a feud that, you know, Frankie Kazarian himself said on our channel and said that he wanted to back in beginning of at the end of August to the beginning of September, said he wanted to wrestle with AJ because he's going to retire soon and he needed people to write it off. He just didn't say it last week on Fightful. He said it to us months ago. He wants that match. That's the storyline that leads into it. I understand now why Bully Ray is going to be at the commentary with the third man because he's a name that people know. Hall of Famer from the WWE, and if you tune in to network television, and he's going to be, and I think he's going to be a part of that broadcast team. I think he's going to say, "Oh, I was so over. I brought so much credibility. They're begging me to stay to do the commentary." I think that's something already in the deal. I think that was the agreement. I think he's going to be going forward Thursday night when they're live. Bully's going to be there all the time. I think that's the new lineup. It's going to be a 3-man booth to bring that credibility. Because I said it yesterday, Matthew Greenwald and Tom Hannafin are one of the best in the business. They grew on us. They're one of the best combination. But let's face it, they had Bully or Bubba. People know the Dudleys. They seen them. They could bring those names in there. They kind of need that mega superstar wrestling in the wrestling world to bring fans in. And then eventually they'll probably fade Bully out, and they'll keep these two because I believe so much in Tom Hannafin and Matthew Greenwald that they're one of the best. That they will eventually be a good 2-man team, yes. But I think for the first year, kind of like the way Jesse the Body Ventura helped kick out the resurgence of Saturday Night's main event. I think that's where Bully Ray. I can understand why they're doing it, Chris, but the real natural story fit was AJ Styles in the main event on commentary. I think that's going to lead to something along the lines where we're going to see Kazarian, AJ Styles. I don't know when, which way, but I can see the finish is going to be typical TNA type of finish. Some type of referee bump, something along the lines. I still think Mike Santana walks out. I think there's going to be a failed call your shot cash in to a degree. I won't even be surprised if they continue it for Genesis with the call your shot type of deal. Never got to call in, and we're probably going to get Nemeth and Santana at Genesis. That's more of a wow, I need to watch. Something convoluted is going to come in where he's not going to get to call a shot in the cup, and he's going to cut a pissed off promo in the back and call a shot for Genesis. See you, Genesis. I think that's where they're going to go. AJ Styles, Frankie Kazarian, Mike Santana versus Nic Nemeth. I think that's your Genesis co-main event and main event.
Couple things. So I'll start off with the 3-man commentary booth with Bully and AJ and all that stuff. I'll start there before I get into what I think is going to happen at Genesis. So I agree. I do think Bully Ray, I think somebody should be there. I don't know if Bully's the guy. He is the guy for, definitely the first week, or it's a big match. He likes to think he has a fucking big head and he thinks he's going to make whatever, try not to get involved. He doesn't need to be involved. Just him being there alone is going to get, him and people interested in listening to him. I don't see how, and, I like the idea of Bully because he could be that heel. And I would honestly love it. My thing is this, when I say the same thing and I don't really saying this is what, or this is a factor, you have too much going on, but it's like when you're doing LFG every fucking week and you're doing Busted Open 3 times a week and you're gonna commentate on TNA every Thursday, I don't see, if he wants to, that's great. I don't know how that would work for him personally. I'm not saying I'm not speaking for Bully. I don't know Bully, maybe he could do it. But that'd be a lot of Bully Ray. But it'd be cool. But you know who I think's gonna fill that permanent spot? Because let's say that happens and Bully Ray, for a couple of weeks, whatever, he goes on he has a bit crazy busy 2026. I think eventually when he does fade out, I think Ash by Elegance will be in that because she's already been doing commentary since she hasn't been wrestling. She said on Busted Open today that she has a medical issue, so she really isn't wrestling for the near future, and she's doing the pre-show with Dave. So, hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if she does well enough that and if Natty has her hands tied up in the next couple of months, I wouldn't be surprised if we get Ash by Elegance on Busted Open. So, my point is, I think Ash will take that spot permanently if they do a 3-man commentary. You have a beautiful female blonde next to the commentary booth. And, you could say Dana Brooke. People would know her as Dana Brooke if you don't know her by Ash by Elegance. You could have the personal concierge come out there and they could do some heel shit. I think she has a long way to go because I've heard her commentary. I've heard her on a microphone and I think she could get there though. And so I think she would be the one to be on that commentary booth. Now, for Genesis and Dolph Ziggler and all that stuff, I could see that. I could see that happening where, okay, that's a good match. I think both the ways I'm going to say and the way you say, I think they're both scenarios where people would watch Genesis, because
Yes.
I would say this. You said, okay, we get Santana and Dolph Ziggler at Genesis, and that all happens. I think that, that's a great way of people getting one to watch Genesis. I was originally thinking that, I mean, if you have a screw up where, we know how TNA is sometimes, right? They'll announce a match the day before sometimes. Not all the time, but they'll do that. So I don't know if Ryan Nemeth, or if Nic Nemeth, I wish Ryan, if Nic Nemeth does win the TNA title tonight, it could be one of those things where, like, that still would, if you're watching it for the first time, that would want to make you watch Genesis and buy the pay-per-view because he's your world champion. Now, but I will, now that you bring that up, I kind of align more towards what you're saying, where Nic Nemeth could go and say, I call my shot for tomorrow, because I might have just been saying what I'm saying because I heard him on Busted Open say he's leaving tonight and he wants to do it tonight. But I think on Thursday too, and I think we missed it. I might have to rewatch it, but I don't really think he was like, I'm going to take it from. I just think he said he'll be waiting for you. He'll be waiting for the winner to call his shot. So I don't really, now that you bring that up, you kind of changed my mind a little bit, because I don't think he'll maybe, he could call his shot for tomorrow. Like you said, yeah, I'm just going by from now that you say that. And I remember his promo on Thursday, where I don't remember him clearly saying that he wants to walk out of the AMC debut. I just remember him saying something along the lines of he'll be waiting for who's next to call his shot. So yeah, I like that. I think that could happen. And maybe we get a surprise by AJ Styles at Genesis, and Frankie, they cut a promo or something. If he's not, because be like, you fucked me or you screwed me over, this and that, AJ, yes, match, and then boom, yeah.
Yeah, because we could see those kind of shenanigans where something like along the line where AJ comes out, Frankie gets distracted, whatever the case is, and he gets hit with the spin the block. Santana wins. He's about to celebrate. Santana gets the title, and then Nick wants to cash in the gauntlet, and I can see where a bully says, kid, let that man have his moment. Grab them and prevent the Courier shot at that moment. And then then Nemeth sees, I can't be a weasel and attack Santana and really cash in. So he's going to say, no, I'm going to cash in. I'll see you, Genesis. He gets mad at Bully Ray and so some type of along the line. You know how TNA does things a little, they like to circle the block instead of crossing the street sometimes when they're with their stuff. So I can see that kind of like, for us to be like, huh? But then it's just to protect. And I can see something along those lines. I don't, watching the product also for a while like we have been. So it's going to be, either way, it's going to be an interesting and it's going to be a exciting evening tonight that we just can't wait for it to happen. I hope that the wrestling world really tunes in. We got all the reactionary podcasters heading over to Dallas. They're putting it all over the social medias. I have to ask this question. How the hell you guys could afford to go to these things? I mean, we know the arenas. The arenas we know how you can get in the arenas. How the hell you afford the flights, the room, the boards, to everywhere? Because, and me and Chris are electricians, and we don't do this podcasting, for, that's not our main income. This is up to some of us. Sometimes it's whatever comes is nice. It pays the internet bills, if whatever comes in. How the hell you guys do it? I have no clue, because this is expensive. So God bless you guys that you guys be able to do it. But I know me, I like to have my mortgage paid on time and own properties, not rent. Maybe that's the best. Maybe that's the secret. But my goodness, I don't know. Let's talk about the Iconics taking on the Elegance brand for the Knockouts title. Now, we know waiting in the wings, we're going to have a triple threat on NXT where, JC Jane's group with Fatal Influence, Zoe Ruka and Zarya, call their shots there. We also got Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair. Do you think the Inspirations, aka Iconics, hold their titles against the Elegance brand, or will Mr. Elegance himself, the new recruit, interfere and cause an issue?
All due respect for these ladies, I do not care about this because I don't want to see fucking Perez Hilton.
That's going to be the Elegance man.
I know. I don't want to see Perez Hilton.
He's going to be
look,
he's going to be peacocking all over the place.
This freaking tag team division is for the knockouts. I mean, I'm going to keep stressing it. It's not interesting. But to answer your question, I do think the Inspiration walks out. And I could see somewhere like the Elegance, like dumbass Perez Hilton tries to help the Elegance brand win, but he completely fucks it up. Yeah. And then the Elegance, and then Concierge like curses him out or screams at him.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
And we never see the fucking clown again.
We'll see where that goes for that. The stars will be out aligning for that. My question, I mean, TNA, I asked this question for TNA here in 2026. When are you guys going to start imposing yourself, the talents, to go after NXT titles? They could easily call shots for all the TNA titles, triple threat for the number one contenders for the knockout tag team titles to TNA wrestlers. Who do you want to see going up against the Inspirations? So Ruka and Zaria, Kendall Gray, and Ren Sinclair, or Fatal Influence returning back to TNA television with JC Jane? Who would you think? What's more sexy appeal for TNA and the AMC?
Well, they definitely need some knockouts. Mm-hmm. They need a knockout that's solid, that can carry the knockouts division through the AMC era. I think, JC Jane, I mean, what else does she have to do there? Somebody, they need a free agent at this point. They need somebody who's a hot free agent female that can go to TNA and shake that division up, because it really is not indie. It can be Tessa, and we all know why it's not. And if they had anything with Masha, she threw it out the window. So
that's why I'm big on Chris. Free Dr. Britt Baker. Britt Baker and TNA will be gold. Even Camille. You're not, Tony, if you're not using them, let them rock elsewhere. You've got all these plethora of talents. Allow them to work in that knockouts division, top 9.
Yeah, they should hold it in that knockouts division. Like they need a solid female, bro. It's what they need.
They need a solid, strong female, and I don't see Dakota Kai's not it. As many that star sizzle faded down. I would have liked them to get Persephone, but she signed a multi-deal with CMLL and AEW. She's not going anywhere for them. That would have been a nice one to bring in. Thought Tessa was going to use her back channels in CMLL to try to help. That, I guess, didn't work out for her. I don't see her out there. Thunder Rosa would have even been a great addition for TNA to show up. Especially them working in Dallas, Texas. And they work with the affiliates with El Paso, and they return there and all that good stuff. Thunder Rosa would have been a nice addition to TNA Knockout. So I don't think that's going to happen. There was more of a pipe dream or far-fetched, like LaGreca likes to throw that word out a lot. I don't know. There. All in all, I know it's going to be a good one here for tonight. Mustafa Ali resigns with the company.
Good.
He mentioned that on one of these. They do a lot of meteors, and we've been fortunate to get meteors with a lot of these talents from TNA to join us throughout their media tour. He mentioned he's resigning. One thing that worries me, there's going to be world title. He already called out Mike Santana for the new feud coming up. He kind of was on a podcast. I heard him. He doesn't like Mike Santana. Of course, it was through the talk about his feud. He made Santana with his feud last year in Rebellion. He's calling Mike. He wants Mike Santana as a world champion so he could beat him. I think Mustafa Ali, there might be a title in this future, bro, in TNA. I don't want to start booking the title ahead of time, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And dude, I said this a couple weeks ago. He is the next one in line for a TNA world title shot because I almost just said he plays great football. Holy hell. He wrestles phenomenal and he can tell a great story. So, and again, the story he told with Mike Santana, we talk about. I actually gave that their match at Rebellion was one of my matches of the year when we did our award show. So I would like to see that match. And again, if Santana is the title, this makes it better because Santana kind of ended that for a while, and now Ali's getting the revenge to chase his title. I think that'd be fucking dope.
We'll find out. We'll find out what that is. TNA announced new venues coming up. So they made a big announcement. We know right after this Dallas run, they're going to Santa Fe, New Mexico. So that's going to be the first time ever in New Mexico. Of course, the home of the Breaking Bad, where it was taking place. Nashville, Tennessee has been announced. It's going to be, I believe, around the holiday of Valentine's Day. The PLE No Surrender, TNA Impact, the 13th and 14th. So you could take your loved ones, very own Heather, to go have a Valentine Fest watching the TNA talent. And then Atlanta, Georgia just been announced for March 5th and 6th. They're going to have an Impact. And then New Orleans. So they're getting jiggy down with the Mardi Gras. Our boy Chris the Flash territory. Salute to Chris the Flash. Sacrifice. March 27 and 28. The PLE Sacrifice will be there. And, of course, live TNA tapings there. Of course, Impact, Thursday Night Impact on the 28th. I like that they're announcing this because they're going to need to move tickets. Now, fans, if you like what you see tonight on your AMC channel and you live in the Atlanta, Georgia area, the New Orleans, Tennessee area, support TNA Wrestling. Go out there, buy tickets. They're one of the most affordable tickets you could get out in the wrestling business. Even the meet and greets. You know, you heard from Nic Nemeth. If you follow me on my social medias, you hear from Nic Nemeth, the horse's mouth, about the meet and greets. You know, they have like a 95% rate where fans just book and come back. They enjoy the show. They love the experience with the meet and greets. And this is what I love about the meet and greets. You don't get 3 seconds like Fanatics and you see your wrestler and they look at you like you have the plague. You know, take your picture and scram pal. With the TNA wrestlers, you get to the moment to have a conversation, you know, for about almost a minute. You know, they take their time to have this conversation for almost 2 minutes. Genuine look at you. They do like CM Punk. They look in your eyes and tell you that they appreciate you as a fan. And you like that conversation, that connection with those wrestlers. The meet and greets, the staff that does the meet and greets, you go talk to Miss Amanda. She'll get you signed up and where to go for the meet and greets at a TNA. If you're ever at TNA Live, Miss Amanda, go to Miss Amanda. She's one of the best at those meet and greets and get your meet and greets. You know, that's the Hardy stays, Mr. Hardy's along with talent relation, Ross Foreman. They stay until like 4 a.m. out there to make sure every fan that gets a meet and greet gets a great experience. And you have to respect that with TNA. And if you're in those areas, you know, go and get your meet and greets with your favorite wrestlers, because when they go to the WWE or they go to AEW where you don't even see them or peep, you can't see them no more. You can't have that conversation. You can't take those pictures unless you're paying almost $400 for 5 seconons and moving along.
Take advantage, guys.
Yeah.
Be respectful, but take advantage, but be respectful. Go on both our social medias from Slammiversary, and you trust me, you'd want to take our advice. Take advantage, but be respectful, because I promise when a guy like Joe Hendry goes to NXT, you're never going to experience what we experienced again without having to pay a price. So be respectful, but take advantage of it now, guys.
Yeah, we're not going to see Zachary Wentz for a while.
No, no. Thank
we
God
had great
our picture with
opportunities. Great opportunities speaking with Zachary Wentz on that charitable softball game. Great guy. You know, we got to get our own personal experience with him. You know, and our own meet and greets. You know, so yeah, meet and greets are very important for TNA. Get them going if definitely you could watch, like, view them. This is they're on AMC. Make noise tonight if you're a TNA fan or a wrestling fan. You know, I don't know. And this is what I gotta say. What's the negativity with TNA that no one really? Everyone wants to. You know, people talk about AEW like they wanted to fail them, but my God, the slings and arrows that TNA has been getting in the last 6 months has been like eye-awakening. Like, really? What I mean, this is a company that it's been around for over 23 years. Like, why so many slings and arrows, Chris?
Honestly, I haven't heard to the recent since they signed the AMC deal. I mean, everyone's there. All the pod reactionaries. I mean, we're complaining that people are jumping the ship. So I've seen a couple people that like, yeah, they look at TNA as like the third company because they're just the sickos. But I think that's just who they are. I think they're just the sickos that are making those comments because all I see is, you know, I see people that don't cover the show might go live tonight. I see, you know, that's all they're bust it open tomorrow is all they're going to talk about is TNA.
We hope so. I don't want to hear shit about Kiss. I don't. I don't want to hear anything about Kiss.
They have to, bro. They both were because they're both going to be at the show, and they're both going to. Dave's going to be at Genesis. They're both going to be in Dallas. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if they do the show together. Like it has to. But my point is, like, everyone's talking about this. So I've actually seen a lot of people like giving. I don't know. So but my point is, I'm curious to see if they do a ratings, how that comes out. I'm curious, man.
The ratings will be coming out because they're in network television. Those ratings are going to be available in Nielsen, whatever new application or Nielsen are going to be there. They will give you those ratings. Those ratings will be out there for TNA. Since let's talk about this though, do you think they get over 500,000 viewers for the AMC's premiere?
I think they get just. Yeah, they just below or around 500,000. Hopefully,
okay.
Hopefully,
all right.
I don't know. It's a tough one though. I don't. If I have, that's my hope. Honestly, I'm thinking like 350.
350. I'm thinking they're getting like 620s.
Ooh, I hope that would be fucking awesome.
I think they're gonna get 620s on the premiere, but then the narrative is gonna be because AJ Styles was there. You know, let's see when he's not there.
Okay, that's good. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. AJ Styles main event. Yeah, fair.
I think that's where the buzz and that's the excuses they're gonna put, or that why they drew the over 600, over 500,000. That's why I put 500,000 because it could tip the point below or above for them going forward. We'll see because it's the premiere, and everyone's gonna be out watching. The wrestling world is going to watch to see how that looks. How does it feel? Do we get a new stage setup? And will there be pyros? Will they stay with Cross the Line, as the intro theme? Do they change the intro theme? All those things color-wise. Are we going to see more lights, more, everyone wants to see where TNA goes here. It's a new era, a new dawn, and new expectations. The bar has been set. Now it's up to the talent to take that bar and raise it even more. Some of them couldn't raise it. Some of them had to defect and go. That's okay. Now, and I told this to Heather yesterday. If you read the scriptures, not everyone made it to the promised land. Moses took them out of Egypt, but he never made it to the promised land. Some of these wrestlers might not make it to the promised land. They stay behind. So that's why I see it. Don't forget, we're going to be doing our watch-alongs here. We're going to say good afternoon, everyone, because we'll see you later because we got more streaming to do. This is, again, all right, we're coming up to where the heart out. Before we go, we sincerely want to thank everyone who's watching, joining the conversation, supporting the channel. This show is proudly powered by Dude Wipe. Stay fresh, stay clean, stay match ready. And thank you to our new affiliates, Blackout Coffee. Waking up, standing up, and never backing down. A 100% American company that stands with God, family, and freedom. Use my code, Sports Jedi or Rumba, whichever one pleases you, to support this network. And if you enjoy this show, do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe. And support us via Super Chat or donations. Every contribution helps us keep this independent wrestling program, fan-driven, alive. From all of us here at the Sports Jedi Network, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for your passion. And we'll see you later tonight on TNA's premiere. For me, PGA Chris, buenas tardes. Representa